Save the Semantics, episode 133. It is December 11, 2020. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on about shit for about 20 minutes, 25, 30, 40 if I'm feeling good. And I am inconsistent as of late. Haven't really posted anything in a little while. I've been a little busy, to say the least. Or rather, I just haven't really found the time to really talk about much, to be completely fair. Yeah, I mean, I've just been keeping busy with work. This week's felt kind of rough, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I feel like I've just been, like, my brain is fried. I'm just, like, fucking, I felt out of it just this morning. I was just, like, going over, test materials and shit, and I was just like, fuck. I don't know if I have it in me at the moment to get through this. So this week's been a little rocky in that regard. But yeah, I don't know. I feel okay in this moment right now. I'm just kind of taking a break, I guess. The weather's kind of funky right now. It's been cold. It's been very cold, at least around here. So you've just kind of had to deal with that. And yeah, I mean, it's just I've had a routine, which is nice. So that's been consistent. It's the only thing that hasn't been consistent is just me, providing like an update of sorts, I guess. But everything else has been pretty good for the most part. I try not to read too much into the news, even though, again, as always, it's good to keep in the know of things. But yeah, I try my best to, because any time, really, just like it's just such a noticeable difference in just like my demeanor, my sense of being. Just anytime I just like do any bit of like social media shit, like I jump in on Twitter or Reddit or whatever. It's like I go to the fucking trending whatever tab, whatever you want to call it, for any of those. It's just like always the worst shit, and I get it. Like, it's a really awful time right now, but I think there's just only so much you can really take, and I feel very privileged in that regard, that I don't have to necessarily be in that state of being all the time. Like, I can't even imagine being a doctor or a nurse or anyone really in that field, or that has to kind of face that on a daily basis. Like, that's just like incredible. So yeah, I'm lucky that I don't have to do that. I just think that, like, for those that who are able to not have to put themselves through that, I think it's good to kind of minimize your consumption of media and shit. Too much of it, you'll end up on just the far ends of the spectrum, going haywire, not really believing in anything, not taking anything with any sort of, I don't know, fucking, just everything is just kind of a conspiracy in your eyes, and you just, reality is just sort of this simulation type of ordeal. Like, once you fall into that bracket of people, then you're kind of, I don't know. I feel like it would be incredibly difficult to not fall, but to come out of that, to get into a situation where you believe everything is just kind of a lie and everything is just manufactured. Like, I can't imagine like recovering from that. I'm sure people have. Like, I've heard some stories of people being like, "Oh, I was once this, and then now, after years of rehabilitation, I've kind of gotten myself out of it." But, like, Jesus fucking Christ, it's hard to get myself out of like a bad mood sometimes. Like, I can't even imagine like years and years of just conditioning to fucking like propaganda and shit, just like being on Facebook and just like subscribing to these ideas and these groups. and then just like not. Oh my god, it's just crazy. Like I understand how it kind of works, a little bit. I still haven't watched like the what was the documentary called that came out like a few months ago? The one about like social media and its effects on people and everything like that. Like I feel like I kind of get the gist of it. Like I don't really need to watch it. Maybe I'll watch it eventually. I'm just not really in the mood to, Like I don't really want to. Like like lately I've really been just like I haven't watched anything that's been super serious. I haven't watched Netflix in like it feels like months. Like it feels like it's been a while since I've really logged into Netflix and watched something. I've really just been sticking to YouTube just because it's easy. Twitch, I've talked about it before. Just how like Twitch is for me is like the new TV in a sense that I can just kind of jump on a stream and just kind of have it playing. And it's like okay, like it's very, it doesn't require a ton of your attention, and it's cool the fact that it's like interactive, right? There's that kind of that parasocial relationship, which I've also talked about how that might be there's some detrimental aspects to that, but I feel like it's cool just kind of having that very I guess personal kind of viewing experience in a sense, right? And that's sort of the fun of it. Like you could have hundreds or thousands of people kind of in the same space at the same time, and that's very cool. Um, that's still kind of a new thing for me, Like I think like traditional TV. Say you're watching like a sports event, I guess like maybe it's like the Super Bowl or whatever, right? Like that kind of that's a pretty basic example where people get together and watch the game or whatever. Um, or if you're just watching it with your family, um, you can still kind of like be in contact with like other people and stuff. I don't know, you could chat up your friend and talk shit about the game, but like with like something like Twitch or really any other site that live streams, like you have that like immediate reaction from people. Like you're already like a part of kind of something, right? Like if you're in the comments or whatever, you're kind of already part of like it's somewhat part of a community, even if it is a little broken up in a sense, right? Like maybe you don't have if it's like hundreds of thousands of people, it's a little hard to kind of create um sort of like a community in a sense, but you're still already like there's a sense of like camaraderie, I guess. There's a sense of like I guess belonging, which is kind of like I think, during this whole period of time, I've definitely like sort of leaned towards that type of content more just because like if you're not like, I used to be out and about, when I used to go to school and, I was always, not always, but I was generally interact with some people on a daily basis, but once you're kind of out of that, you're like, okay, what's sort of the alternative for that? Of course you'll have your friends, right? Of course you'll always have your friends, but sometimes you're just like, well, I mean, it's not gonna be, um, it's not always there, it's not always gonna be there. So it's like easier to do than just like jumping on a live stream where there's a bunch of other people, like this kind of is a very easy venue to kind of get access to. So I definitely, um, I've definitely started to understand just kind of the appeal of Twitch streaming. Like, like even maybe even like a couple of years ago, like I was sort of apprehensive to that kind of thing. Maybe I was just sort of in that bubble or in that like kind of mentality where like just this shit is kind of just like people playing games and shit. I mean maybe not like a couple of years ago, maybe give it a little few years ago. I think I've definitely warmed up to it. Um, Relatively recently, but I wasn't like privy to any of it. Um, but yeah, I like especially this year, I've definitely like grown much more to like appreciate that kind of content, even if it's not necessarily all gonna be just high quality shit. Like that's not what I'm expecting going into like these going onto like these channels or going onto these live streams, right? Like that's not necessarily what you're there for. You're there for kind of the interactivity. That's what kind of makes that platform work, you know? So that's really cool. That's just kind of what I've been, you know, primarily viewing, honestly. I mean, it's not like I'm watching like Twitch or YouTube just like on a constant basis, but I, just like every day, maybe like an hour, a couple hours if I have the time just to kind of take a break from things. Um, yeah, I don't know. I haven't really felt the urge to watch something new. Like really, I really haven't. I know there's, I know again, as always, it's just like, I know that I'm missing out on shit, but it's just like, I don't really have the motivation to. It's really hard, to commit yourself to a show that's like incredibly lengthy, so, we'll see. I don't even know like what the next thing I even want to watch is. Like I'm sure I've mentioned something before, but it's been a while. I don't want to be chewing directly into the fucking mic. I've already done that before. It doesn't sound clean. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I've definitely like, I don't have like a list or anything, but I've definitely had like, kind of a sort of a ideas of maybe what I want to watch next. But it's been a while. I still haven't finished Code Geass, and I haven't jumped back in just because it's been so long, and I've forgotten like what the hell happened in the show. Um, and I know there's only like 6 episodes left, but fuck, man. Um, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of shit, but not a lot of time or motivation in my eyes. But we'll get around to it. Ooh, here's something. I've been playing. I recently bought Civ 6. And that's been a lot of fun, honestly. Like, I can. People have talked about like how addicting that game can be, and I can definitely see that because I've really gotten kind of caught up into that sort of mindset. Like recently, like I was like, it's kind of bad, honestly. Like, it's like for those, for anyone who doesn't know, it's really like playing like a board game. You're, you're the leader of the civilization that takes influence from actual historical figures, and empires or whatever, and you're essentially trying to win the game in. There's a few ways that you can win the game. There is a you can win by domination, which is like you can win by taking over other other nations' capitals. That one's very difficult. I haven't even really tried to do that one. There is a scientific victory, which is you can win through. I think in order to win, this is another one that I haven't even really. I've tried to do it, but I've never been successful yet. To be fair, I've only played like 4 games maybe, and I've won only one. Um, but a science win is if you manage to make someone land on the moon. I think that's what it was. A culture win is if you maximize the number of tourists that attend your, like, what's the word, your empire, your country or whatever. And then there's like an overall score win. So whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. So if you're able to accomplish any of the other 3 before the turns are over, then you win essentially. And I didn't really get that. I should have really read up a little bit on some of the rules before I dove into it. So I was getting my ass kicked like for the first 2-3 games, just because like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was really just testing it out, and I was just struggling with like how things worked and stuff. But now I kind of understand how it works a little bit, and I've really just been playing the most easy difficulty. I'm a beginner. I don't know shit. But it's been a lot of fun. I've gotten like very caught up in it to a point where it's like it's consumed the time that I should have been spending studying. That's bad. Like that's when you know a game is like gone too far. Like I've read horror stories of just like people being just so devoted to like WoW and shit, like spending little literal years on the game and not doing much like I guess progression in their lives, which is fucking insane. Like I can't even like it's hard for me to imagine that being like a thing, but like I mean, I've had instances where I've been very consumed by a game, but it's never gotten to a point where it just completely just encompasses everything about my life. Like that's it's never gotten to that point. It's never gone that crazy or just like or it's just overshadowed everything. No, it's never gotten there, but I can definitely understand the mentality of being just like addicted to a game and shit, especially if you feel like there's like more like content that you can get out of it, but there's more satisfaction that you can get out of it than your own life maybe. Like for some people I guess that's kind of it gets to a point in their lives where it just gets to that point. But yeah, I when I was playing Civ, I was playing one game and like most games take up like quite a bit of time. And so like I was just trying to like get through the game. I'm like, "Oh shit, I got to win this time. I got to win this time." And like I didn't win, but it was just like it was just sort of like you want to see like your civilization grow. You want to see that shit expand. You want to try to maximize the amount of things that you have going on. Especially when once like the once things like roll, like it feels like good when you start to see like your gold going up and like you start to see like your continent kind of expanding, not your continent but your civilization sort of expanding little by little. Like it's very satisfying, so I understand kind of like the want to try to continue doing that. So that's like one thing I have to sort of like hold myself back on, especially now when I have like other things I got to focus on. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun. Again, I haven't really played a whole bunch of it, but I've played enough of it to really get a taste of like what's in like store and stuff. I was like lucky enough to kind of to be able to pick it up for $10 off of Amazon. So yeah, so that's been cool. Um, and I've just been um, what else have I been doing? Not a whole lot really. Not a whole lot, but yeah, I've just been happy with some of my gaming stuff. It's really just been Civ. I know for Smash they just released a new DLC, but I haven't picked up any of the Smash DLC. Like I haven't like bought or purchased any of the DLC characters. Like I've really just been playing with like the main cast for like the last how long has it been now? 2 years since it was released. Um, so maybe I'll dive back into it and like actually try to play some of with some of the newer characters and see how that goes. Um, It is kind of crazy how much they really just like expanded the roster though. Not surprising at all, just because like if people are gonna continue to purchase content, like that's just the way to go, I guess. But yeah, I know that Cyberpunk came out like a few days ago, maybe at least within this last week. So there's been a definite craze for that. Um, I've just seen so many people posting about it. I know it's like buggy as hell right now, just because like the developers are just pushing to get it out during the holidays. It's always the case, man. It's always the case. Like I don't know why. Like you want a better game. Like I know I'm sure they've already raked in a shit ton of money just with like the ad campaigns and just like the hype that's been created surrounding this game. But like I just like if you have the ability to do that, like why not just like kind of push back a little bit? Like you really want to like don't you want to like maximize just like the efficiency or not efficiency, but just like the quality of everything? Like I don't understand that mentality. It's just like I get it. Like I understand like, you have to fulfill a deadline or quota or whatever, but just like I don't know. If people buy it, then it's like, what's the point, right? Then companies aren't really incentivized to like work on the game. if that strategy works, like people are gonna buy it anyway. Like even if like the Metacritic score or the reception of the game is like subpar or medium, like they still sold, right? So that's kind of really what matters. But um, I think it's difficult for like maybe it's difficult. I don't know. I don't really know the business model of video games well enough to really feel like I can comment on it, but I think it's difficult for um, games to really sustain growth, especially if it's like a one-time purchase, which is why there's like DLC, online platforms for gaming and stuff like that. Like game. I feel like it's kind of difficult for a lot of companies to really, I guess, gain a profit, especially like indie companies. Like I can't even imagine just like the amount of work that goes into developing a game. I mean, I did watch like the indie video game development documentary like a while back, but like I think in terms of like finances and shit, oh my god, that's got to be incredibly difficult to like sustain and everything like that. So major props to indie developers, and they've made some of my favorite games recently, like Celeste, Hollow Knight. I mean, those are some pretty big titles, but pretty well known games. But you know what I mean? Some really good games. Um, Maybe it's something I don't know. I thought about maybe getting into like Shovel Knight, but maybe that's another thing for another time. Um, for now, I already, I'm already trying to commit to one game. I can't keep jumping around all over the place, so I think I'll just stick to Civ for now. See how much fun I can get out of that. Anyways, that's gonna do it for today. Um, yeah, I know I'm not consistent in terms of uploading on whatever the hell goal I generally have. It's like a weekly basis, but I think I'm just gonna be flexible with myself. At least, you know, at least twice a month, maybe if I'm consistent. If I'm feeling like I got shit to talk about, then maybe a weekly basis. But I'm not gonna force myself to fucking go go off on nothing for 20 minutes. I know that feeling, so I'm gonna try to maximize output and shit. You know? You know what I mean? No? I think we're just gonna leave it at that. This is already derailing really quickly. Anyways, this has been Save the Semantics, signing off.